Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Non-Scripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson. Thank you so much for joining me, and what an episode do we have to discuss today. Holy crap, the time has arrived for story, for intrigue, for questions answered. It's sort of, just, my god, so much happened. It's so great. So yes, here we are, episode 4 of WandaVision. We're almost pretty much halfway through the show now, which is exciting and disappointing because I don't want it to end because it's really starting to get really, really good. Yeah, let's just dive in, I suppose. This episode is called, very appropriately, We Interrupt This Program. And I just love the fact that they're like using TV like transmission slogans and things like that as the episode titles. It's golden. It's a nice little touch that adds to the just the all-round excellence of this show. And what an opening scene for this. I was a little concerned at first because they didn't open with the Marvel Studios fanfare and logo and all of that stuff. So I was like, what's going on? And then we just, we hear these voices sort of thing, and then we just see like, something taking shape, reforming, and then it turned out it was Geraldine, Monica Rambeau, and the last thing we hear is Carol Danvers calling her Lieutenant Trouble as she reforms. Like, that's nice. And at first I was like, okay, well, last shot we had of the previous episode was her being ejected from Westview and landing out in a field outside of Wanda's bubble. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe this has something to do with Wanda. And then she gets up, goes out into the corridor, and immediately people everywhere are just reforming. And then, for lack of a better term, it snapped. And we're at the blip, we're at the snap, we're at, well, Avengers Endgame, with Hulk making his wish using the Iron Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones to bring everybody who was snapped 5 years ago back into existence. So this is where we're at when this episode starts. And I was like, that's fantastic. Like, how freaking good is that we're getting the blip referenced here, the snap, like just everything, everyone coming back. And oh my god, poor Monica. The fact that at the time of the, Thanos' first snap in Infinity War, she was sitting next to her, her mother, Maria, who was in hospital because she had just undergone surgery for cancer. And so she's, come to, I guess, reformed. And then, her mum's not there. She's in an empty hospital room. So, that's why she goes out into the corridor, because she's like, where's my mother? And then it's just chaos everywhere because people are reforming left, right, and center. It's just pandemonium, 0 to 100 in like 3 seconds. It's just bonkers. She's trying to get some answers, and then she runs into the doctor that I guess was, assigned to her mother originally. And, she's very, very shocked and confused to see Monica because, she suddenly disappeared 5 years ago, and now here she is again. And she explains that Maria sadly passed away because the surgery was a success, but the cancer came back, and she died 3 years ago, which was 2 years after Monica disappeared. So that's just bloody sad and tragic straight off the bat. The fact that Maria Rambeau is dead, that really sucks. I was really hoping we were going to get to see some, slightly aged up, what's the actress's name? I've forgotten her name. I'm sorry. I'm just all spacey this morning, recording this. But it would have been nice to see her come back as Maria Rambeau. Lashana Lynch. I remembered it. Lashana Lynch. It would be really cool to see her come back, but obviously, unless there's flashbacks that are going to happen at some point in WandaVision or in the MCU in Phase 4 going forward, maybe. Considering we find out in this episode that she's actually the founder of s.w.o.r.d, which I don't know if that comes from the comics or not, but as far as the MCU goes, she's the founder of s.w.o.r.d. I'm like, that's badass. She's got a photo on the wall in the lobby there, and that just made me super happy. That was really nice. Like, two incredibly brave, strong, intelligent women founded both of the, integral organizations responsible for, you know, keeping us safe, more or less. In the MCU, Peggy Carter founded S.W.o.r.d. and Maria Rambeau founded S.w.o.r.d. So that's really, really nice. But yeah, so after, you know, Monica, you know, is hit with the realization of what's going on, that's when we cut to the Marvel fanfare and logo, and I'm like, this is just great. Yep, I'm in, let's go, let's freaking go, guys, this is so great. Yeah, the lobby of the S.w.o.r.D. base, which they didn't give an actual location as to where it is, although it did look like Florida, and I'm only saying that because, like, I've seen, you know, I've been there, and B, I've seen, like, you know, when I was at the Kennedy Space Center, it's set out, like, in a sort of similar way. It, like, really reminded me of the same kind of layout, and the sort, like, the environmental surroundings. So it looks like it's probably set in Florida, like the S.w.o.r.D. base, especially because they're going into space as part of S.w.o.r.D. So, because we get a couple of nods to that, you know, this kind of space program going on, and the fact that Maria, before she died, decided that if anyone was to return from being, you know, blipped out of existence, that they'd be grounded until, you know, assessment could be done, I suppose. So yeah, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, that's where I think it is, but they don't say where it is. However, they've really done up the lobby to make it look like the Triskelion. Like, it just reminded me so much of that from Winter Soldier, with, like, even with, like, the giant statue of the logo in the lobby there. It just was very eerily similar to that. So that's got to be deliberate, if you ask me. But yeah. Anyway, this is where we meet director Tyler Hayward, a character I'm not familiar with. I'm not sure if he has any kind of comic book background in this. There is another reference to Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. with him, though, that, I don't know, could be a loose connection, could make sense, could not. Basically, there was a character named Brian Hayward in the earlier seasons of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. He was part of the Centipede program, which was a, you know, program created by Hydra to make, like, these kind of super soldiers using the serum and stuff, and, like, mechanical. Yeah, it was really interesting. It was early like season 1, season 2 kind of stuff for S.h.i.E.L.D. So people online seem to be theorizing that because they share the same last name, there's a connection, and thereby maybe kind of hinting at some clandestine nature about this Tyler Hayward. He's the current acting director of S.w.o.r.D. I guess he's going to be taking over, considering it seems that Maria was obviously the director until she passed away, but that was 3 years ago, so I don't know why he's been acting director for 3 years. I don't know. There's semantics, I guess. It doesn't really matter too much, but I don't know. The actor who's playing him is Josh Stamberg, a name I'm not familiar with, but he's been in a bunch of stuff like The Affair and Parenthood, and Drop Dead Diva. Just some random kind of shows. Like, he hasn't really been in anything too big. But I liked his presence. He's got a great on-screen presence. I'm buying niceness from him, though, like, good. There's something inherently seems to be good about him, and, you know, he's just, I don't know, he seems to be a good leader and in control of the situation, as we see through this episode. So I mean, who knows? It's a Marvel thing. It's hard to, you know, after you have your trust betrayed by Hydra being within S.h.i.E.L.D., it's kind of hard to imagine a world where S.w.o.r.D. is a completely on the level organization. So who knows? But I hope he's good, because he seems cool. I like him, and I liked his banter with Monica early in this episode. It was them, the way they bounced off each other was really nice. I also liked the little nod to Captain Marvel that Monica made while they were talking about, you know, he's talking about what's out in space. And, like, there are many threats that we now know of, and Monica says, or kind of corrects him and says, threats and allies, and of course she's talking about Carol Danvers, who is out there in the cosmos at this point in time. I should mention, though, the fact that like these scenes at S.w.o.r.D. are taking place 3 weeks after everyone reappeared. So basically, that's confirmation of where WandaVision is set in the MCU, and it's actually set before Spider-Man: Far From Home. Because that that movie, while we see scenes of the blip and people coming back, at, you know, in like this very funny, excuse me, humorous montage at the, you know, in the early, you know, scenes of Spider-Man Far From Home, that this movie is set, I think, a few months after the events of Endgame. So yeah, this is WandaVision is set, yeah, almost immediately after Endgame, basically, which doesn't surprise me, considering, you know, if Wanda is creating this reality to cope with the loss of Vision, then that immediacy of where it fits in the timeline makes perfect sense. So that's really cool to have that confirmation of where it's set. What else we have? Okay, so yeah, basically Monica is sent to investigate what's going on at Westview. They don't think anything really of it until she actually gets there and sees what's going on and gets sucked in to the world, because she approaches the barrier and she touches it, and you can see this like Teyonah Parris is playing it beautifully. She's so good, by the way. I'm loving her performance. She's yeah, she touches the thing and like the barrier, and then you see the look on her face, like just the curious, you know, nature of it, and like there's almost kind of like a glimmer of a smile on her face, like she needs to touch it again, even though Agent Wu behind her is like, what are you doing? Don't do this, be careful, because, you know, they just watched their drone disappear as it went through. So yeah, it's all very curious. But anyway, I love the fact that Randall Park has returned to the MCU as Agent Jimmy Woo, and a nice little bit of world building here. We have his reveal of his FBI agent card, and he uses it, like shows it via a magic trick, which we saw him working on in Ant-Man and the Wasp, because one of the things that Scott Lang was doing while he was under house arrest was teaching himself magic tricks, specifically with cards. And, you know, because Agent Wu has such a man crush on on Scott Lang, which is just adorable, he started taking up the like learning how to teach himself that stuff as well. And the fact that now we have him here that's just beautiful. That's just really well done. And I love Randall Park. He's so funny and he's so good in this. Like, I hope he's in more MCU things going forward, because every time he appears it's just brings such a smile to my face. So it was really good to see him in this. Yeah, okay, and then here we have the introduction of Darcy Lewis, or should I say Dr. Darcy Lewis, reintroduced into the MCU. We have not seen Darcy since the events of Thor: The Dark World, which is many years ago now, and in that time, obviously, she's not, you know, she's gotten out from under Jane Foster, not working for her anymore, because she's, you know, not an intern, not an assistant, and now she's got her doctorate in astrophysics, so yay Darcy, very proud of her. And the one confusing thing about it, though, is the fact that when she was wandering through the response camp set up outside of Westview, was the fact that a guy, like some S.w.o.r.d agent, called out to her and referred to her as Miss Lewis, and I'm like, if you've called Dr. Darcy Lewis to come here and help with your investigation, surely everyone knows she's a doctor and not a miss. So I thought, I mean, it was a nice way to introduce the fact that she's a doctor now, and that's super awesome, but I think it was a bit kind of haphazardly done with the writing, because I'm like, I mean, it just seems weird that that agent would not know she's a doctor when they know that she's specifically being called for, especially because, you know, he's calling out to her, he knows who she is, and obviously that she's supposed to be there, so it was just weird that, yeah, just weird that he didn't realise she was a doctor. But anyway, little tiny nitpick, but it's fine. It's like the only problem I think I have with this episode is that tiny little thing. What else? Oh yeah, I've just missed her. Kat Dennings is amazing. I've always been a fan of hers. I've seen her in so much stuff. She's so wonderful on screen, and just so funny, so engaging, and it was really great to see Darcy come back, and she's immediately back to her like smart alecky wisecracking kind of, you know, self. And I really adored the way through, like, the fact that she was the one that discovered the sitcom goings on of what's happening inside Westview, so that's awesome. And then the other thing, the fact that she's like super invested in the show as it's going along, like, I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, I'm so glad she's back. Basically though, she explains, like, her readings are picking up cosmic microwave background radiation, CMBR, as she says, abbreviated. And then we get some exposition that is relic radiation dating back to the Big Bang. And for those who, like me, are, avid watchers of the MCU, you will know that that is a reference to the Infinity Stones, because the Infinity Stones were created at the beginning of the universe. And so, and the fact that, the fact that we're seeing radiation indicating the presence of Infinity Stones, I think it makes sense, because by the time this episode's done, we seem to learn for certain now, and it's we still don't know everything, but it's very much still pointing to the fact that Wanda is in charge of this whole thing, and basically, the fact that she gets her powers from an Infinity Stone. The Mind Stone that was in Loki's scepter, we see, earlier in the MCU that it was used to give Wanda and Pietro their powers, their abilities. And then the fact that Vision also, had the Mind Stone within him before he died. So, yeah, my theory is just that Wanda has gotten, as we were watching the movies and seeing her abilities increase, she's getting more and more powerful as each film went on, and also, having moments of not being fully able to control her power, like when she makes that mistake in Civil War, and then, a lot of those people died in Lagos. That was very sad, and she was very affected by it. But she's, she's so powerful that by the end of Endgame, she's able to, come back from being blipped and take on Thanos and almost kill him. That's how powerful she is now. So the fact that we're, a few weeks down the track from those events, and here she is creating her own reality. So the fact that they're picking up this CMBR, I think indicates Wanda using her powers. That's pretty much what I think. I mean, I saw something online about how maybe, if Mephisto is involved in this, or if Agatha Harkness is involved in this, do they have access to an Infinity Stone somehow? But then, the Infinity Stones in this timeline have now been destroyed, because the ones that we used to bring everyone back in Endgame have been returned to their respective time periods by Steve Rogers. So I don't buy that there are Infinity Stones in existence now. I feel like it's just Wanda using her powers. That's got to be what it is. What else should I mention here? So we learned that was Darcy at the end of the first episode, taking the notes in the book and then closing the book on the desk in front of all the monitors. That was Darcy. We also learned that it was Agent S.w.o.r.d talking through the radio, trying to reach Wanda in episode 2. So that's kind of cool. So we're getting to see the events of what was happening in our world whilst the sitcom stuff is happening inside Westview. So I like that kind of juxtaposition, and finally getting to have some background going on of what's happening. That was really cool. And I also kind of like, it makes it even more sinister, the fact that Wanda's little rewind effects and glitches are a lot different when viewed by the outsider watching the show. There's a couple of, jarring moments. Obviously, the two that we get to see are the ones where, where Jimmy Woo gets through to Wanda, and Dottie breaks the glass, cuts her hand. We don't see that. We just cut to Dottie telling that weird joke about, getting blood out of linen or whatever. But that glitch is weird. And then at the end, when they're watching, when Jimmy and Darcy are watching Monica talk about Ultron and Wanda start to lose her shit at her, we don't see what happens. Same as last week, we didn't really see what happened. We just saw Vision come back inside, and then Geraldine was gone. But from watching the show, we just see, Wanda creepily, staring at Geraldine, and then it cuts to, it does this weird kind of cut thing, and then Vision and Wanda are on the couch holding the twins. So that's creepy. Very, very creepy. I really wish they had have taken an extra couple of minutes and focused on the fact that Vision is starting to realize what's happening, because, last week we had that glitch that everyone thought was, you know, their streaming or their internet cutting out and playing up that, you know, because Vision was like, I think something's wrong here, Wanda, and then it cut back to him just, you know, being sitcom-y again, in that really cool glitch. We didn't get that mentioned at all here, and I mean, I don't know if we will, because I feel like Vision is really starting to realize what's going on here, and maybe he's not telling Wanda, because at the end of this episode, when Wanda's like, I need to tell, you know, I'm so excited, I'm just words. Wanda is like, what are we going to watch on TV tonight? And Vision, just the look on his face, he's genuinely concerned, he's genuinely shocked, he's not sure what to make of all this, of what's just happened. But then he like smiles like, everything's fine. And then, yeah, but even when he sits on the couch next to her, he still looks a bit concerned. So I feel like Vision is becoming self-aware within this, you know, sitcom world, and maybe he's learning, so maybe he's just not telling Wanda because maybe he remembered that she rewound him, I guess. I don't know. That's what I'm taking away from it. But it was really, really cool to see Monica actually get ejected. Like, what happened? Like, I love the fact at the end of the episode we went back to the end of last week and actually got a widescreen format. It wasn't in the sitcom, it was in the sitcom, but the view of us outsiders looking in, and what Wanda actually did to Monica to eject her from the reality, and that was brutal. And Elizabeth Olsen again did a fantastic job, because as soon as like she realized what she's done, she's looking at her hands, and you know, the fact that she's ejected this poor woman from the reality, like, I feel like she's having some kind of second thoughts or regrets or just concerns about herself and her actions, like, what's she doing, what's going on, or unless it's that, or she was so close to losing control and having the real world break through, the world she doesn't want to be a part of anymore, basically, break through and ruin everything, so she's just probably freaking out. So it's probably a little from column A, a little from column B, I don't know, because Wanda is inherently a good person, like, deep down, you know, she wouldn't have joined the Avengers and betrayed Ultron if she wasn't a good person, if you ask me. So I think that's kind of what that was, but yeah. And then we get because she has kind of actually lost a little bit of control for a second, we get the most haunting image ever in the MCU, and that is dead Vision, looking all grayed out, his eyes a lack of pupil, and his head's been caved in because of when Thanos ripped the Mind Stone from his skull, and it's just like, that was shocking. That's gonna keep me awake for a while. Like, that was brutal. That was graphic, just to see him in that state, even for only, like, it was like not even 10 seconds. It was less than 10 seconds. And then Wanda fixed him and it was fine. But that was just, oh my God. Makes me wonder if, stupid. Makes me wonder if Wanda is actually, you know, I don't know, has access to Vision's body, maybe? Or maybe that was just the fact that she lost control and reality was seeping in. Reality is the fact that that is what Vision looks like now because he's dead. And that's why that happened, I guess. So, yeah, but it was shocking. Very graphic. Yeah, unsettling. Yeah, and then the fact that she says, I have everything under control, to him as well, when Vision is like, we should leave, we don't have to stay here. She's like, this is our home now, I have everything under control. And then we cut to outside of Westview, and then Monica's, you know, barely able to get the words out because she's injured, obviously, and she's like, Wanda's doing this, it's Wanda, she's doing it willingly. We're giving us, like I said earlier, our first basic confirmation of what's actually going on. I'm just gonna look at my notes and see, okay, one thing, we got the beekeeper thing explained, S.w.o.r.d agent obviously coming in, trying to infiltrate, and then, you know, his cord snaps off and becomes a skipping rope, which I thought that was kind of cute. But the one problem, the other nitpick in the episode I actually do have, the one problem is that the fact that when we show the beekeeper looking at Wanda and Vision from his perspective, Wanda says no in a completely different way to what she said in the in episode 2 when we saw that for the first time. So that was a strange choice by the makers of this to do that. I don't know why, because they literally could have just cut to that close up of her saying no again. They didn't have to do a different take, and it's a completely different no, so it really stands out to you as being not the same. So yeah, anyway, I think the other thing to take away from this is the fact that we got to see some different footage of a sitcom episode in this episode, when Darcy notices Monica in the show. It's in the foreground of a shot of Agnes and Wanda talking, and they've been shopping or whatever. We haven't seen that yet. So basically the implication is, and what we're kind of learning, is that the 3 episodes previous to this that we've seen are not the only 3 episodes of this show. Like, it's been an ongoing thing, like many more episodes have happened. And it makes sense in terms of what we were seeing on the outside with s.w.o.r.d being there and setting up base camp. Like, it seems like a lot more time has passed than what you would think over 3 sitcom episodes. So yeah, it's a continuous series of episodes going on, so that makes sense. I thought that was cool. What else do I have to... I think that's all my notes. Yeah, I'm done. Alright, cool. That's it. Other than to say the fact that I really liked the joke that Jimmy Woo made when he was talking about how I can't remember the first half of the line, but he's, you know, going through, you know, I think maybe he said he was going through a list of people to contact, or the citizens of Westview, I can't remember, and he says he gave up when he got to D because he found Diddley Scott, and I'm like, Diddley, yeah, I don't know. That's probably, I don't know if that's a real legit joke or anything, but I don't know, made me kind of giggle a little bit. Regardless, that's episode 4. Holy crap, we are on the move. We're on the fast track now to this plot, this storyline. It's epic. It's so great. So excited now. Even more excited than I was before. It's just brilliant. I love the fact that we're properly incorporating WandaVision into a position in the timeline, in the MCU, connecting it to events properly, world building this, the beginning of Phase 4, setting up S.w.o.r.D proper, like, just, it's all good. It's all 10 out of 10. Fantastic. We are almost halfway through. After next week, we will be past halfway through WandaVision. I guess next week will be more of our 80s sitcom, because I thought we were going to get that this week, and then we didn't. So that was a nice twist. The fact, because literally on the IMDb page, it had a picture of Agnes in her 80s outfit for episode 4. So that was a nice kind of subversion. I really like that. More of that, please. Don't pay attention to things like that too closely. Don't overthink it. Yeah, and then I guess going forward, maybe we're going to jump back and forth between the sitcom and reality. I don't know, or, you know, it's all just going to be set in reality looking into the sitcom. So maybe next week they'll actually break through, because, you know, we've caught up now on both sides. That's what this episode was doing, catching us up with the outside world point of view, because now we're, you know, it ended with Monica being ejected again, so we don't know what she's gonna do going forward. Yeah, really cool, really great, loving it. Hope you guys are loving it too. Comment below your thoughts. Did I leave anything out? Did I make any cool points? Am I wrong about things? Please tell me. Educate me. I want to learn. I'm here to learn. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Until next time, I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted ramblings.